What do colors mean to Pokemon? Obviously there's types, fire, water, grass, red, blue, green, and then there's legendaries, ruby, sapphire, black and white, and so on. But what do these colors actually mean? What do they signify? It's an interesting question I've been pondering for quite some time. What do colors in Pokemon really mean? What do they stand for, and why are they so missed? After seeing the reveal for Pokémon Scarlet and Pokémon Violet, I think it finally hit me. Colors in Pokemon signified quality. They signified hard work, passion, a willingness to give a game's production tons of effort, and a stark desire to deliver something new to an audience who loves and respects the material. Now, look, obviously I'm not talking about plain old colors. Pikachu is yellow, and that doesn't have a damn thing to do with the game's quality. No, when I say colors, I'm talking about the colors used to symbolize entirely new regions, new generations, new characters, and Pokemon. The colors of the games. Red, blue, yellow, green, gold, silver, ruby, sapphire, emerald, pearl, diamond, platinum, black, and white. For someone who has played every single Pokemon game since Red and Blue, I can tell you that it's been kind of strange to see Pokemon steer away from using colors as their primary identifications for new games and generations. For a long time, new Pokemon games were always new colors, save for Crystal, Diamond, and Pearl. However, these names still evoked clear and understandable color choices that were backed up firmly by the game's cartridge. My childhood was in part defined by these colors, the trailers and marketing around them, and the eventual release of said games. Each new Pokemon game used to feel like a cultural event. These games demonstrated how far mobile gaming had come, and each and every one felt different than its predecessor. Sometimes in good ways and sometimes in bad ways, but each and every one of these games was a quality experience that you can go back to and enjoy even to this day. Some of these games featured dynamic day and night cycles, rematch options, changes of seasons, Pokemon World tournaments, contests, movie studios, battle frontiers, and a vast cornucopia of generation-specific treats. These games, this era of Pokemon, which I'll call the colored era of Pokemon games, was defined by just how much effort and love was poured into them. Sure, Pokemon has always been a cash grab entity, making 2 games instead of 1 to inflate sales and paywall certain Pokemon, but that didn't mean each generation of Pokemon wasn't firmly worth playing, and when the generations were remade, you could bet that the remade versions of the games would be head over heels better than the originals, something that can't be said for the remakes that are made after this era. I do feel like Game Freak peaked with Gen 5 and specifically with Black and White 2. These games featured hundreds of new Pokemon, some older ones that people loved, dozens of new legendaries, fun in-game Pokemon encounter mechanics, exciting and vast post-game, fucking difficulty settings, the best story Pokemon has ever told, and finally, the aforementioned Pokemon World Tournament, which is just, without a doubt, the coolest and most incredible thing Game Freak has ever done. A tournament where you can fight the best trainers from every single other Pokemon game, including Red and Blue from, Red and Blue. Indeed, this colored era of games was defined firmly by 3 things: the color on the game cartridge, the 2D sprites in the game, and the delicious and palpable passion that went into the game's creation. All that changed in Gen 6 with X and Y, and to be fair, this felt like the best place to have those changes occur. Pokemon was stepping away from its sprite modeling and into a potentially, but ultimately failed, era of 3D sprites and modeling. We'll call this era the 3D era. They were introducing the, at the time, significant feature of Mega Evolving, something I think I can say most fans remember fondly. And then they introduced the beloved character customization options that have thankfully been retained in every game since. These things were huge for Pokemon. They shook the universe up, and so it only felt right that with such a sturdy shakeup, the identification for Pokemon might change as well. If ever there was a time for Pokemon to change its name philosophy, well, this had been the time. X and Y were then revealed to be mediocre games, carried by the exciting nature of Mega Evolutions, 3D graphics, and the ability to get a Charmander after the first gym. They were certainly nothing to write home about, but the changes they made were so exciting and potential-rich that most people didn't really care. The fanbase saw how much effort was put into these games and thought, if they did this much for this game, just imagine how much work is going to go into future releases. Oh, how naive we were. Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire showed the slow degradation of the franchise. We kept Megas, but the entire post-game battle frontier was removed and never added back into the game. a true telltale sign for where Pokémon as a franchise was going, as for the first time, the original versions of the game, Ruby, Emerald, and Sapphire, were arguably better than their remade counterparts, something that should just never be the case. Afterwards, Gen 7 saw the creation of Sun and Moon, games which took away way more than they added. They added no new Mega Evolutions, made the story of the game even less difficult, and even removed gyms entirely in favor of the woefully lackluster trials. The only good aspects of this generation were the fact that Ash finally got a fucking W in the anime, and the Ultra Beasts, which have similarly been forgotten and abandoned as a generational gimmick. Oh, and I forgot to mention Z-moves, but there's a reason for that. They sucked, and the animations for them were mostly terrible. In a game as easy as Sun and Moon, Z-moves were just a cheat code to beat whatever Pokemon you were fighting at the time, which the game was so easy already that you didn't even need them. After Sun and Moon, there was Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, which, yeah, these games were and still are lazy and the same as their predecessors. A true cash grab if I've ever seen one. Oh, but how could I forget? They let you surf on a Mantine, because everyone loves pointless minigames that do nothing but extend the runtime of the fucking game. Afterwards, we moved on to Gen 8, Sword and Shield, and admittedly, these are games I was initially excited for. Hell, I was in Japan when the games were announced and I got to tour the Pokemon centers while those new and exciting reveal trailers were playing in the background. Only for the games to be the most definitive letdown in the history of video games. Gen 8 was supposed to be huge, the first main series Pokemon game on a fully fledged and relatively capable console. This was something fans frankly never thought would exist, up until the Switch entered the scene as a mobile and home console, teasing the potential for a main series console Pokemon game. Then, we finally got it. And the graphics were laughable, the challenge was completely and totally erased, the Megas, Z-moves, and just about every other gimmick that people loved were completely gone, erased from the game and replaced with a stupid-ass gimmick that has broken the meta for the game and made playing competitive Pokemon feel like a complete waste of time. Oh, and like 80% of the Pokemon that had been introduced throughout the history of the franchise were Thanos snapped away. Now gone forever, never to be seen in Sword and Shield or the Galar region ever. I played these games after refusing to purchase them at launch from a retailer, and yeah, they were underwhelming. I've made a whole video talking about that, so I won't regurgitate any of that here, but safe to say the games sucked big fat donkey ass and they damaged the fanbase's perception of the franchise terribly. Don't get me wrong, these games made a lot of money. After all, that's what Pokemon does. But many in the community finally found the willingness to step away from Pokemon almost entirely, me not excluded. You can look at the Pokemon content I used to produce on this channel as evidence of that. The franchise has partially died to me, and it's directly Generation 8's fault. Anyways, after that, there was Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, two more god-awful cash grabs that did not do Gen 4 any justice and served as the only main series Pokemon games I have never and never will play. Again, remakes that are worse than their originals. It seemed like Pokemon would fall down this self-destructive hole until the company imploded and people just didn't care about Pokemon anymore. Mediocre games and a lack of respect for a fanbase always hurts in the long run. And although they were making money in the present, I could see the public shifting away from Pokemon in a way I'd never perceived before. Then, Pokémon Arceus released, a game I was incredibly skeptical and annoyed by for a very long time, until I decided I would play it and discern for myself the true nature of its gameplay and, its enjoyability? I haven't beaten the game yet, but that's not really the game's fault. I've been playing this game a lot, and I'm more interested in catching Pokemon, completing the Pokédex, and getting my stars, than I am in the god-awful story that is just so cringy, so boring, and oh so woefully mediocre. But even with this story being a hot steaming pile of boring garbage, the game itself is fun, and if you like exploring, collecting, catching, and completing the Pokédex, I'd say you'll have more fun with this Pokemon game than any that's ever come before it. If you like battling or story, well, go back to Black 2 and White 2 again because they're still the best games in these regards. All that being said, there was a return to form with Pokémon Arceus, and by that I mean, for the first time in a long time, Pokemon games were truly novel and, dare I say it, fun? Now we get the shocking reveal of more free content coming to Pokémon Arceus after launch, which is just free new content in Pokemon? That never happens. They make you pay for all of the new shit, and they forget a game as soon as it launches by Christmas. But more shocking than the free content was, well, Gen 9 has been revealed. The graphics still don't look like much, but they do look marginally better than Pokémon Legends Arceus, which is something of note, I guess. However, the most shocking thing about the reveal to me was, well, the name choice for these new generations, Pokémon Violet and Pokémon Scarlet. Colors. For the first time in almost a decade, colors are back to Pokémon, and I can't help but feel like maybe, just maybe, there's a reason for this. As I mentioned before, colors used to symbolize new Pokémon games, back when the games and the people who made them strove to do new things and genuinely deliver great new content. Looking back, these colors mean more than just a game nowadays. They represent an era of Pokémon games that are timeless, of superb quality, and a higher standard. After the marketing meltdown of Generation 8 and the bump in quality with Pokémon Legends Arceus, I can't help but feel like this decision to name the new games after colors once again means something. Either one of two things. Firstly, the most obvious and likely answer is it exists as nothing more than a nostalgia cash grab. Hey, remember when Pokemon games used to be named after colors? Look, we're doing that again, so get excited and get your wallet out. Meanwhile, the game itself will suck and exist for nothing more than to make money. This is the most likely option because, let's face it, the Pokemon Company is a soulless money-making machine at this point, and we have no reason to believe otherwise. But there is another potential meaning behind this naming choice, one that isn't likely, but one that the idealistic and hopeful side of my brain can't help but indulge in. This could be a return for Pokemon, a willingness to acknowledge faults and a desire to return to that golden, or should I say colored, era of games, where each new game brought with it several new features, where each new game brought with it a level of artistic excellence, an era in which each new game brought new challenges and meaningful gameplay. What if these games are back to colors because Pokemon itself is back to colors, back to breathing life and soul and passion into their games, back to treating these games like more than money-making soulless vessels of nostalgia sucking nothingness? My interest is stoked, and it is only stoked because Pokémon Legends Arceus was a fun and exciting risk for the Pokémon Company to take. If they're willing to make this game, willing to release free new content for it, and willing to revert their naming philosophy, well, I mean, it makes me wonder, just how far are they willing to go? In this moment, I'm not optimistic. Like I said, I ultimately think their cash-grabbing ways are much more likely to be the case, but there is a seed of hope that only exists because of the peculiar nature of their recent behavior as a company. So, let's see what happens. Keep your wallet in your pocket and just wait. These games could mean something new for the Pokemon Company if they continue forward with the momentum they've built up after PLA. And as a Pokemon fan, well, I can't say I'm not at least curious. What about you? What do you think? Let me know in the comments below, and trust me, I understand if you're all still very skeptical because, admittedly, I am too. Thank you so much for watching. This has been so good, reminding you once again to go out there and keep on loving good stuff.